In the Roman Empire, whispers of a mysterious Messiah spread like wildfire, but his story was far stranger than Sunday school ever told you. In the 1st century CE, Rome was a hotbed of messianic figures. Prophets wandered the streets, claiming visions, healings, even power over death. Crucifixion was the state's answer to rebellion. Yet one story refused to die. The Gospels tell of Jesus of Nazareth, a Jewish preacher from a tiny province. But Roman sources paint a more complex picture. To the empire, he wasn't a savior, he was a threat. Roman historians like Tacitus and Suetonius wrote of dangerous sects, whispered that a Christus stirred unrest among the people. Christos, the name carries the weight of contempt. It's a nickname, a label slapped on by those who sought to discredit him. But the Romans had a taste for the dramatic, and they dismissed this carpenter as a fool. He preached to the lowest, the outcasts, the ones who had nothing to lose. Slaves, women, the poor, they flocked to his banner. And as his following grew, so did the unease in the halls of power. The Gospels tell of a trial before Pontius Pilate, a Roman governor wrestling with an impossible decision. But the historian Joseph Flavius, he offers a different perspective. According to him, the high priests, they had Jesus arrested not because of any great crime, but simply for saying, "I am the Christ," claiming to be the Messiah. Now, that was a dangerous game to play. The Romans took no kindly to people who claimed to be divine. The title Messiah carried echoes of rebellion, a challenge to the authority of the emperor. And when the crowds began chanting, "Crucify him," they weren't just calling for the death of a man. They were demanding the execution of a threat, a rival claimant to the throne of David. For the Romans, this was just another case of dealing with a troublesome cult, putting down a small fire before it turned into a blaze. But they didn't know that this fire would burn for centuries. When they nailed Jesus to the cross, they thought they were silencing a prophet. But they inadvertently made him a martyr. And as the legend of Jesus spread, the Romans couldn't understand why their cruelty only seemed to make him more popular. The Gospels tell of a post-resurrection appearance to Mary Magdalene, who becomes the first witness of the empty tomb and the first to see the risen Christ. But in a culture that revered the dead, this wasn't an unusual tale. In fact, it was a common one. The Romans had seen plenty of these miracle stories before, and they used them to their advantage. When they needed to silence a cult, they concocted tales of miraculous appearances, spreading them through the empire to snuff out the flames of devotion. But the followers of Jesus, they clung to the belief that he was raised from the dead. They saw it as proof that he was more than a man, and so the rumors grew, taking on a life of their own. One man who tried to make sense of it all was the Apostle Paul. His letters, filled with theological musings, were also a defense. He wrote to early Christians, urging them to remember the words of the crucified Christ, to hold on to the truth of his resurrection. For Paul, this wasn't just a historical event. It was a doorway to salvation. And as Christianity spread, it attracted the attention of the Roman Emperor Nero. He blamed Christians for a great fire that tore through Rome, seeing their defiance of the state religion as an act of hostility. And so began a wave of persecution. Christians were arrested, tortured, and put to death, all for refusing to renounce their faith in the crucified Messiah. Yet, despite the suffering, the faith endured. It was a testament to the strength of the message that even death couldn't stop. The Roman authorities thought they could snuff out the flame of devotion, but they couldn't stop the spread of the gospel. As the empire crumbled around him, Jesus of Nazareth became more than just a crucified carpenter. He became a symbol of hope, a beacon of faith, a figure whose death and resurrection offered a glimpse of salvation in a world consumed by darkness. It's hard to overstate the impact of this carpenter's son. He challenged the religious establishment and the political order. His message of love and forgiveness shook the foundations of a world that worshipped power and might. To the Romans, he was an eyesore, a nuisance, a threat to the stability of the empire. But to the downtrodden and the desperate, he was a light in the darkness, a promise of a better world. As you ponder the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, remember that he didn't just die on the cross. He rose again, offering hope to a world drowning in despair. When empires crumble and faith survives, history takes on mystery. What if the real story of Easter isn't about a risen Savior, but about a conspiracy to silence him? Or what if Jesus never died at all?